This is part 1 of the personal choice article assignment. For part 1, I will simply read what I have written, and then in part 2, I will go through all the comments and explain the different parts of the essay. This writing is based on an article written by Ryan Brown called The Pledge at 125, and it comes from juniorscholastic.com. Please stand. As the music begins to play, everyone in the arena rises to their feet. Men and women in uniform salute and stand at attention. Everyone else in the audience places their right hand across their heart. Some people sing along, while others remain in respectful silence. Similar to the national anthem, many people also demonstrate this respectful demeanor when reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. Think about how many times people in our nation speak the words of the pledge. Do they really take time to consider the meaning of these words? Where did the Pledge of Allegiance originate? In this article, The Pledge at 125, Ryan Brown traces the history of the Pledge of Allegiance from its creation and examines the debate and controversy surrounding these words over the past 125 years. Brown begins by discussing how the first draft of the Pledge of Allegiance was written back in 1892. A man named Francis Bellamy was recruited to compose what was called a Salute to the Flag to mark the 400th anniversary of Christopher Columbus's arrival in America. Additionally, Brown reports that Bellamy was very concerned that people in the country were beginning to become divided, and one means of uniting citizens was by writing words that would promote national pride. Following Bellamy's draft of the pledge, many people and groups were concerned about the specific words that were chosen. Some felt that the immigrants might be forced to give up loyalties of their heritage. Brown describes how people in America during the 1900s were arriving from all different countries. While remembering the past was important, many already in America believed that these immigrants needed to realize their new home in America. This created tension, and further examination and revision of the pledge occurred. Additionally, some groups were concerned with the government forcing students in schools to recite the Pledge of Allegiance each day. Brown describes how one religious group, the Jehovah's Witnesses, went to the Supreme Court and changed the law so that schools cannot force their students to recite the pledge. One of the last debates over the wording in the current version of the Pledge of Allegiance occurred in 1954, when Congress added the phrase, "under God," to the pledge. Brown points out that during this time in history, the country was at war with the Soviet Union, and there was a need to instill values, specifically moral values, back into society. Since the inclusion of this phrase, many people have voiced opinions against using these words because they feel this persuades people to follow a certain religion. However, Brown refers to one man, Michael Nedow's, attempt to remove these words, claiming they violate the First Amendment to the Constitution, the right to freedom from government-sponsored religion. While this may have been a valid attempt, Brown reveals that the Supreme Court voted that the pledge is more of a patriotic exercise than an advancement of religion. Since its creation, there has been much debate over the wording and purpose of the pledge. However, Brown contends that both the American flag and the Pledge of Allegiance continue to be symbols which promote patriotism today. In terms of current examples, Brown discusses how some people in our nation refuse to honor a flag when a man like Donald Trump can become president. These people believe that Trump is disrespectful to women and minorities. In contrast to viewing the pledge as negative, Brown also points out that former President Barack Obama united Muslim Americans by together reciting the pledge in a mosque last year while visiting a town in Maryland. Despite the controversy over the years, Brian Brown still believes that the Pledge of Allegiance is necessary for a fundamental sense of national identity. While I acknowledge there may have been many shortcomings in American history, I agree with Brian Brown's belief that we, as a nation, need patriotic symbols, songs, and words to remind the American people why the country was founded. First and foremost, this is a nation that was created to allow all people freedom. From the freedom to worship any religion without fear of persecution or violence, to the freedom of speech, America must persist with this core value of individual freedom. In addition to freedom, patriotic symbols also promote the idea of American dream. Early in the country's creation, settlers came to this land seeking a new life, a chance to work hard and be successful. This is still true today. People plan, work, fail, rise, and triumph, all because of freedom. Finally, I believe that the Pledge of Allegiance is most important today because it pays tribute to all men and women who have fought to maintain freedom for American citizens. Members of the military leave their families, risk their own lives, and put themselves in harm's way, so that we are able to live in a country with freedom. While Brown points out that some will not actively participate in the pledge because they disagree with Donald Trump, I firmly believe that the lives of those who fought and died for our country deserve our deepest respect and gratitude, despite political preferences. The debate will obviously continue, as many celebrities today choose to take a political stand by refusing to rise for the national anthem or recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I will leave you with this scenario. Imagine yourself in an arena as the national anthem is nearing the end of the song. You may or may not be singing along, but you do have your hand over your heart and are standing respectfully. Take a moment to consider what your actions have just said to someone else in the crowd who may be a veteran or an active service member. You have just honored them and your country without saying a word.